infrastructure man from the north, is with us recorded. Hey, Shane, tēnā koe.
Hey, mihi kia tātou. Ata Māori there, mana. I'm down here on the main drag of Wellington. I'm just going to go to a place slightly less bothersome in terms of noise and have a cordial with you guys.
Koe. I appreciate that too, Shane. You know, not everyone likes your politics, but I think everyone likes your money, Shane.
Yeah, well, apparently my wife Dot's very popular, where people can't be bothered saying hello to Shane. They give her a big kiss and they say, "Man, can you boot that husband of yours in the shin? Get him to shut up."
Well, hey, you know, there's many ways to skin the cat, and so I don't want to be, sort of predictive and say there's only one way to get there. One thing's for sure, the communities that you funded last time around, I'm talking the Portuguese, these small places where wharves were built, for instance. There's just no chance they would have got that occurring had you not have championed the region's needs. And the infrastructure fund is similar to that, although maybe some tweaking here. The fund is open for applications. Who can apply? Marae? Iwi? Community groups? I mean, businesses? Just give us an overview of the infrastructure fund and how it rolls, please, Shane.
You've made a incredibly important point. In 2017, we negotiated the $3 billion fund, and over 800 million of that did go to specific Māori initiatives, including initiatives that had a large Māori tinge to it, but it had a broader appeal in terms of, say, for example, a Pōtiki. But I've got to say, you know, to the people that find my brusqueness off-putting or some of my commentary inconsistent with the prevailing narrative, neither Peter Sharples, neither Tariana Turia, Michael Cullen, Parekura Horomia, everyone promised to deliver to a Pōtiki since I got into politics, including Helen Clark. And it was only through Winston Peters and I who said, right, we're getting a couple of $100 million. This has been spoken about for 20-odd years. We're doing it. And I think what buoys me is that once I can see that results are being treated, I just regard the rest of the rhetoric and the often belligerent interplay of words as political static, because the results are there to see. This time round, councils, businesses, iwi, they're all able to apply. I'm hoping that it will represent an opportunity for co-investment. It's unlikely to be used by the mining industry, and sadly I won't be able to talk to you next week because I'll be in Perth. I'm going over to meet a whole lot of mining investors and mining companies in Australia that already have interests in New Zealand, but they're very keen to understand not only the new rules and regulations that are being developed, but what genuine opportunities exist and largely to Waipona. But anyway, back to the fund. It's open for business, and the doors opened yesterday.
Some think it's bribe money and that you'll only fund outfits that agree to vote for New Zealand First.
Sadly, the result of 2020 showed that if you're looking for gratitude in politics, you've come to the wrong place. And yes, there were a lot of marae and distinctive kaupapa that were funded, and the political level went in another direction. And yet we got back in after a period of sabbatical, meaning we had no power, we were just out in the wilderness. So I don't think anyone should draw a connection that because we fund a particular initiative in a specific area, that there's a clear expectation that will be rewarded politically. Politics is, sadly, in my experience, not that transactional, Dale.
Your Chief Winston would say if you're looking for trouble, you've come to the right place.
Yeah, well, as my leader constantly says, when he's getting ready for one of his verbal fisticuffs, he gives clear notice. But look, we've had a bit of fun in the house as well. We had matariki last week. I think I didn't get down to the kapahaka. My mokopuna, Maringi Kura, is in the kapahaka for one of the West Auckland schools. But I'm hoping that the kapahaka tutors and the composers, they'd be very careful before they start writing all these kai ora ora, which is a term that describes a composition of derision, I'm very worried that you can be a political activist, but I'm not happy about these 10, 12, 13, 14, 15-year-olds being filled up with a diet of, militancy against the Māori politicians who happen to be in cabinet, because it's not an accurate reflection of how politics works in general. And it probably reflects more the prejudices or the anger of the tutors as opposed to the young people. So let them live a life, let them grow to learn and love and stumble through their teenage years without trying to fill them with a diet of ideology. I'll have more to say about that as we get closer to Matatini next year.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting point. I was talking with my colleague who's a Kappa guy, and the quality of performance was exceptional. There's not really a focus on the tutors and their wonderful abilities, but nobody has really raised that issue that you touch on, that it's almost bringing an anti-government perspective into young people who, as you say, really don't have the tools to make their own minds up about who's doing what and why. It's sort of dangerous turf, that, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, no. It's what we see in the Middle East. It's what has driven the generational hatred in parts of the Middle East, where rationality, a nuanced understanding of history and politics is placed second fiddle. And I'd say, look, a lot of the tutors and the composers, incredibly talented people. I mean, obviously, at the top of the tree is Selwyn Parata and Ricky Gage, Ladeli and Tai Tokedo, and a slightly younger generation is General Wihongi. In another part of the world, they would be regarded in a far more prominent way than they are here, without a doubt. But I draw the line at the composers and the tutors using the minds of these children as a garden upon which they plant seeds of poison. I'm not tolerating it.
Yeah, kia ora. It's a very good point, and one that does deserve some discussion. I'd love to be part of that kōrero too going forward. Shane, we'll have another chance to talk of it. Now, just back to the infrastructure fund, we are sort of hopeful that marae across the country, especially vulnerable ones that would perhaps need to be moved, and there are countless examples. The Pūtea is aimed at supporting resilience infrastructure to improve regions' ability to absorb, adapt, and to respond to stresses and shocks. An interesting way to frame it. But will that mean that marae will be able to apply for, or when you talk infrastructure of that sort, is it road building, bridge building? Would wharf building qualify?
Yeah, so a host of the marae are already being supported through the different pūtea after Gabriel, and there's ongoing funding in that specific area. But look, we've already got some work underway between the officials in Ratana Village. The Tories, a decade ago, undertook to upgrade aspects of the infrastructure at Ratana, and I've picked up that challenge. But look, as the regions develop their priorities and where there are specific cases, of course, we'll look at what you've described. I think there's also an opportunity for regions, as into Taipotini, where there's a really collegial connection between Māori landowners and miners and local government. One project down into Taipotini, which has been brought to my attention, is the future of the Hokitika Airport. Now, it's not a sexy topic, I know, but unless you have resilience in your air connectivity, you really are going to condemn regions of New Zealand to a pretty miserable existence if you can't reliably get in and out of an area via Air New Zealand or whoever else may be the airline company.
Shane, can we wrap up by just describing, if you will, how you see your relationship with iwi leadership groups? Let's say the Kingitanga, Kohanga Reo Ratana, the iwi Leaders Group, New Zealand Māori Council, just as an example. How would you describe your relationship with these leading Māori advocates?
Yeah, well, obviously I've had a long-term connection with that. I've got to re-strengthen it with the New Zealand Māori Council. After all, I worked a great deal coming from Taitoketo with Sir Graham Latimer in my younger years on the question of the iwi leaders. A host of them I know very well personally. I think it's a lot of their working groups that have run away with the ball, and they've met their match in me. The iwi leaders as individuals and as proxies for their people around the country, I'll deal with any of them. But these shadowy, furtive working groups that have been set up to drive outcomes in environmental legislation and climate change, it's all too clandestine for my liking. And unless it's transparent, open, and there's a genuinely respectful debate that goes to the heart of the issue, then these shadowy figures have met their match in Matua, Shane.
Thanks very much, Shane. Good talking with you again. I'll look forward to our next call.
Okay, ka kite.
Ngā mihi. O te wai o Matariki. Tēnā koe.